Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 77 here on season number 2. And today we are getting into, will I pull out my money before the crash? This question comes from Milton Williams, and he says or asks, are you planning, that's like in capitalized bold letters, crazy stuff, on pulling out before the market crash? Anyways, these videos are meant for educational purposes only and not meant to be taken as financial advice. So you are responsible for your assets and to protect them. So always do your own research. The simplest answer is no. But real quickly, let's go ahead and backtrack to how this question kind of came about. So this question came from one of my Acorns videos in which I talk about how I'm changing my portfolio from basically the aggressive account or aggressive portfolio into the moderately aggressive portfolio. And the reason that I was explaining on why I was doing this is because in the aggressive portfolio, at one point there was no bond exposure. Recently, I believe that they updated it to give some bond exposure there. In the moderately aggressive portfolio, you're about 20% exposed into bonds. And so I wanted to be exposed into bonds because I honestly really didn't care for the volatility for an aggressive account. And then from there I went on to explain basically the best way to make money during a correction, which was to basically liquidate your account and hold it until the correction or crash was at its lowest point, and then buy in at the lowest point and catch the crazy run up. However, that strategy is pretty much impossible because you would have to liquidate your account at the highest point and then get back in at the lowest point to maximize the profit. And for me, it's not worth it for me to try to figure that out. So I'm actually going to keep my money in there, and actually in a few days from now, I will be switching my account on Acorns from the moderately aggressive account over to the moderate account, thus turning my exposure to bonds all the way up to 40%. First of all, I think that this will help me preserve most of my capital, or at least some of my capital in that account. And then secondly, it will give me the opportunity to, when those equity ETFs start to fall because of a correction, I will be able to shift my money from those bond ETFs or those bond type stocks into those equity ETFs, thus buying more of those equity ETFs at a lower price because the percentage did drop. And I will still be making my regular bi-weekly deposit into that account as well, which kind of gives me the sneaky feeling that when the market returns, I'll be sitting around looking pretty. Basically, to sum it up, I would rather dollar cost average the market correction, pairing that with bond money transferring into equity funds instead of putting all the man hours in to try to calculate or predict when the market is at its highest point and when the market has since returned from the correction. And like I was saying, letting those bond ETFs go and become more liquid to, again, buy more equity ETFs, that's something that Acorns has designed into their actual platform. It's called rebalancing. So basically, when any ETF drops by 5% or raises by 5%, they sell that 5% and then disperse it among the other ETFs. So for instance, your large company stocks drops 5%, they'll sell all the other shares, some of the other money and the other holdings or ETFs to put back into that ETF to bring it back up to that whatever, say 10%, 15% or whatever it was. And so that's one of the reasons why I signed up for Acorns, is because I liked that feature. And so I plan on letting Acorns do its thing when a correction happens. But if you're like, okay, well, what about like your Robinhood account? On my Robinhood account, which I very actively manage, I actually am sitting 1/3 of my money over there is actually liquid cash. It's just sitting there, and really I'm waiting for either the market to return how it was acting before we had the recent hiccup in February, or I'm looking to find a stock that's completely undervalued that I feel like is going to rise even with the way that the market might turn out in the next year. So anyways, we'll leave right there. Let's go ahead and dive into the question of the day, which is, what two films would you like to combine into one? I don't know if this is like a series of films, or if this is like two completely opposite films that would combine into one to make like this super film. So first of all, I think it would be awesome instead of like having like a series like Star Wars 1, 2, 3, and 4, actually Star Wars 4, 5, and 6. I think it would be cool if they just like paired them all together and it was just one big huge storyline that was like a 6 to 10 hour movie, and then where you could sit there and watch the entire thing. I think that would be really cool, or doing that with like Lord of the Rings as well. But if you're like, okay, we'll pair two together, I think that maybe like a Back to the Future paired with maybe like The Dark Knight would be a very, very interesting movie. Anyways, like I was saying, if you got any questions regarding Stash, Acorns, Robinhood, as well as general investing advice, business etiquette coaching, post those questions down below. Don't forget to subscribe up here and check out my Acorns recap February edition. Check out this other video right here, and as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.